Hello and welcome back. My name is Sean, also known as ChilliChump. In today's video, we're going to be doing a bit of time travel and we're going to be making some hot sauce. My apologies for the change of scenery, but where I was earlier, there's a gazebo that is squeaking a lot with all this wind we're having. So I thought it'd be a lot better and safer on your ears if we just do this over here. Now, the fermentation is this. It's a peach butcherlokia fermentation that I did in a vacuum seal bag. Now, I started another fermentation at the exact same time using peach butcherlokia, and I did that one in a jar. I've already done a video on that, and I'll link it up above. But I wanted to start this one so that I could kind of test what the longevity was like when you're fermenting in a vacuum seal bag. Like I said, this has been 2 years now. September 2019, and it's actually looking pretty healthy. I'm going to test it with my pH meter, so we'll see what sort of pH we have. I have a guess of where it's going to be, but we're also going to be making a sauce out of it. Now, a lot of people, when they see the vacuum seal fermentation process, they wonder if the bags will hold out for that length of time, and obviously that's what I'm testing. If you're using quality bags, then I don't think you'll have any problem at all. Now, I have other concerns with vacuum seal fermentations, more about the ecological impact of using single-use plastic. So I don't really use the vacuum seal method a whole lot. I will use it for some of my experimental batches that I do because it is quite an easy way to ferment. But generally, I'll be using my buckets, my jars, that sort of thing.
Appalachian sunrise beats my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, I can feel it. Golden, I'll follow only golden. Golden, golden things. Mountain laurel high fives, miles in spring. Rainbow trout and a hummingbird wing. Golden, I'll follow only golden. Golden, golden things. Gold hair, gold rings, gold leaves, gold anything, golden. I'll follow.
Let's open this up and test it and see what we have. A little tip: if you are doing a vacuum seal fermentation, a lot of the times the bag can really expand and go a bit scary looking. All you need to do is snip a corner and then slowly let out as much of the CO2 that's in there as possible, and then take your vacuum seal and seal it again. Don't vacuum it, just seal it. It'll be perfectly fine. Just let the air out slowly, and while it's being let out, then seal it, because that'll make sure that you only have CO2 left inside there if you do leave in a little bit of air, and that's not a problem at all. So we're going to open this up. Like I said, it looks really healthy, and yeah, I'm keen to see what we have. I have some garlic here for my sauce I'm about to make, so we'll just take that out for now because I need this jar. I'm going to cut it from this side because, as you can see, on this side of the bag at the entrance, if you look, this is a little flap that's kind of open to the environment. There is a little bit of black stuff in there that I'm sure is not too healthy. So we're just going to cut it from the other corner, just so we don't expose it to that. I'm going to just put a little bit in here because we want to test it. Looks like baby formula. Let me put this over here. Smells pretty good. There's no funky smells there, so I'm pretty confident it's going to be safe. I have just done some calibrating of this, so I know it is accurate. And let's give it a bit of a test. A bit difficult to test when it's such a little bit, but I hope you can see. But that is 3.5 pH, and that's pretty much exactly what I expected, 3.4 pH. So when you are fermenting, there's a question I get so often. When you are fermenting, there's no need to go and boil up your fermentation to stop it from fermenting. It's actually going down even lower, 3.3 pH. Let's remember to clean this after this. Yeah, so you don't need to go and boil it to stop the fermentation. If you are fermenting long enough, and it doesn't have to be 2 years, you can do this in probably about 3 weeks to a month. You'll get your pH down to a level that actually the lactobacillus will become dormant. Dormant as in it's not going to be producing any more CO2, so you're not going to get bottle bombs. Also, even if you add sugar to this, at this point, obviously, all of the sugars that was inside the Butcholokias, they will all be used up by that lactobacillus. If I do add sugar here, it's not going to start fermenting again unless I start bringing that pH above that 3.4, 3.5 level. If it does go higher and I add sugar, then of course it's going to start fermenting again because there's more food for the lactobacillus. The lactobacillus is still alive, it's just dormant. So just a quick tip there. Okay, now this is a bit of a blast from past. So I would be doing this inside my sauce kitchen. Unfortunately, it's not quite ready yet. We're almost there. Obviously, I've moved home. We're still getting that all set up. I'm hoping that by the next sauce video and all the future ones, we're going to have my sauce kitchen nicely set up, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. But for now, we're going to be using some things that I used way back when I started, including this guy. Yeah, I still have it. So I made quite a few sauces with this. Problem is it has a few challenges, and that's why I've chosen a couple ingredients here that I'm going to have to supplement. If I was using my proper Ninja blender, then I would be using coriander seeds. I wouldn't be using ground up coriander. It just will give so much better flavor. But this blender would not make those coriander seeds small enough, and I'll have big chunks of it inside my sauce, and I don't want that really. Let's add all the ingredients in here. This is going to be a fairly simple sauce, but it's got some beautiful flavors. First one obviously is our lovely peach Butcholokia. And let's get that in there. Some lovely smells there. Okay. Now, this is very thick. You can see that. What I will be doing, I won't be adding vinegar to this. This is again something I get asked about. How do you thin out your sauce if you don't want to add more vinegar flavors? You can use water. A lot of sauce manufacturers actually use water. I'm not a massive fan of that, but with some of the flavors I'm adding to this, it's actually not going to be a problem, and I also wanted to show this to you guys. Now when you do add water, obviously this is going to start separating. Same kind of thing happens with vinegar. So typically with that you'd be using some xanthan gum. Now again, I haven't got my sauce kitchen ready, and I can't actually get to any of my equipment, including my Ninja blender and including a lot of my other ingredients like my xanthan gum. I'm going to show you a quick trick that'll help you bind your sauces, and actually it adds a bit of flavor as well. But the water I'm going to add roughly the same amount of water as we do have peppers. I know this is going to be quite hot. In fact, let me just try a little bit of that. Just confirm my theory. Butcholokias are hot. Yep, that's hot. Oh, gee. Wow, that's straight to the back of the throat. Yeah, people that say fermentation calms down the heat. My mouth's watering. Holy hell. I think that's hotter than... than the one I did last year. Wow. Okay. yeah, so still got heat. Yeah, so I'm definitely adding about the same amount of water. I'm going to add it to here because I want to get out the rest of this mash. Wow. Another reason I don't normally like diluting down with things like water is because it can reduce the heat, but as you can see, there's a lot of heat in there still. Keep underestimating the heat of a butcherlokia or ghost pepper, as a lot of my American friends would call it. It's going to be messy, and I'm going to get up my fingers. That's about right. Well, I'm going to get up most of it. So there's the water. Now, as I said, I would normally use some xanthan gum here to bind this all together. But what we are going to use instead, and there's something you can use as well, I prefer not to be using mustard like this, but any sort of mustard is actually a good binder. The mustard itself will help to thicken. I use a little bit of mustard when I make my salad dressings as well. It'll help bind the oil and the vinegar. Really good tip there. But any old mustard will work. I would have used some French mustard, but I can't seem to find any in my cupboards. It's probably packed away somewhere still. So we're just going to be using a bit of French's yellow mustard, and probably works out well because you guys probably have some of this in your fridge anyway. For this, you just need about, I'd say about a teaspoon and a half of this. So let's add that in. And as I said, it will add a bit of flavor to it. It's mustard, so it'll work out well here. A couple other ingredients we're going to add, like I mentioned before, the ground coriander. We're going to be adding in to that amount, which on the side there, it's about 450, 500 milliliters, or 450, 500 grams. For that, we're going to be adding 2 heaped teaspoons of coriander. Still feeling the burn there. And I can add more if I need to. Now, wow. Of course, we're going to add some garlic. That was only a little bit that I had. We're going to be adding quite a bit of garlic. There's 5 cloves here, but I really love garlic, so it's really up to you. I would add some garlic. It just works well, especially with the coriander and the next ingredient we're going to add. So 5 cloves going there. Now, as I said, this blender is not the best, so I'm hoping it's going to do justice to the cloves. The last ingredient here is tamarind paste. So tamarind paste is awesome. This stuff, now there's already a lot of umami flavors inside a fermentation. That's one of the real benefits of fermenting any sort of foods, really. It comes out with this great umami flavor. But tamarind paste is going to take that to the next level and also bring in some extra flavors. So let me just... The other tamarind paste that I use normally is quite a bit thicker than this. This stuff is really strong. 1 teaspoon is all that I'm going to add for now. We'll taste this and see how it tastes, but let me stick that there for now. And we're ready to blend. Now, of course, we measured that pH at about 3.4, 3.3 even, I think it got down to. When we're adding in these other ingredients, especially the water, it is going to bring that pH up a little bit. It's still going to be in the safe range, but what it might do is take it up to the level that might start it fermenting again. So this is likely to be shelf stable still, but for me, I'll be using this fairly quickly. I'm going to be putting in one of these bottles, and I'm going to be sticking it in the fridge just to make sure it is safe. But if you do want to make this sauce and you want to keep it shelf stable, then I would add a little bit of citric acid maybe, or even a touch of vinegar. The vinegar though is going to change the flavors a little bit. So let's just hope that my blender is up to the task. Stop moving. Oh, Seems to be doing okay. Seems to be doing all right. It's never going to blend as smooth as a better blender, of course, but I think it should do the job. Now this is just for me and my family, so yes, it looks like I'm going to be double dipping. Actually, how am I going to do this? We'll try it with the back of the spoon here. Oh, I'm going to make so much mess. Still got a lot of heat. Not as much as before, of course. I went the wrong way. Excuse me. Can taste the garlic, but because of this blender, the garlic chunk's going to be fairly big, which means that the garlic flavor is actually going to become more pronounced over time because it's going to draw the flavors out into the sauce. If it was blended a lot finer, then you'd already have those flavors in there. So the garlic's definitely going to come out a bit more. I think we can definitely go with a bit more tamarind. This one is, like I said before, it's not the same as what I've used before, which has been a bit stronger, thicker. So we're just going to go with another, I'm going to go with another 2 teaspoons. It is binding together, so the mustard is doing its job. I think that should do it. Now with the mustard tip that I gave you earlier, it doesn't have to be a liquid mustard like this. It can be mustard powder. It can actually be mustard seeds as well. That'll do the same job. Ooh, it's a good option if you don't want to use xanthan gum or you don't have xanthan gum. Tasty, very good. The garlic is going to come out more, and that's a good thing because I wanted that garlic to be pretty sharp and upfront, but that tastes pretty damn good. And I can see it's holding together so nicely. So really, if you are having problems with your sauces staying together and binding, or your sauces are a little bit runny, then give the mustard tip a try. A little bit of mustard seeds, mustard powder. Just make sure you're not using a very strong mustard. I'm not a massive fan of English mustard. It's very, very strong, and it would overwhelm a lot of these. This is quite a nice one to use because it's very mild. So all that's left to do is bottle this up, and I'm probably going to make a big mess again. So even with all that water in there, we can see that it's holding together very nicely, and it's a good thickness. Oh, just a little bit left over. But I hope you can see that, but that texture looks pretty damn good, and that won't separate. There we go. That is ready to go inside the fridge and be put to use. Now this will go with so many different things. Chicken, everything goes with chicken, but I think this will go quite nicely on pork. So pork chops will probably get quite a lot of use out of that for pork chops. Maybe even a little bit on steak. Now I will say that this is a sauce that would probably benefit from a little bit of sweetness. Now I don't really add a lot of sugar to my sauces. I like to have the natural flavors there, but if you do want a bit of sweetness, you can add plain sugar into this. For this amount, you know, half a liter or 500 milliliters, I'd probably add about a tablespoon and a half. Or you could go with the theme of this being a peach butcholokia sauce and try some peach jam or peach jelly. In the US, I think you call it jelly rather than jam. But that would go quite nice. And again, probably 2 tablespoons of that. And I think that would be quite a tasty flavor. There are going to be so many more sauce videos coming. As soon as the sauce kitchen is completed, all my experiments are going to be a lot easier to do. I can't wait to start using that space. It's going to be a lot easier for me to film, so I can get these videos out to you more often. And It is imminent. It's right around the corner. I have just a couple more things to do in there, and I'll be able to debut it here on my channel. If you do want to support what I'm doing, please consider signing up to either patreon.com/ChilliChump or on YouTube memberships, which are down below this video. It gives you various rewards, so it's not just you giving me money. There are some benefits to it as well. One of them being my private Discord server. We have about 200 members on there at the moment, and we all have shared common passions, things like sauce making, growing chilies, automation, and it's really a good environment to go and chat and just share these things we love doing. I also have a few secret special projects on there that are exclusive for patrons and YouTube members, so do consider it. It's a lot of fun, and it's one of the highlights of my day to go in there and have a chat with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something, and until the next one, stay spicy.